I am here. It is in webinar mode. Yes, it is. Why are you saying that? Boom.
Hey, I'm here now.
We're live.
All right.
Yeah.
We got it done. We got it done.
What in the hell's going on? The other one was on and I got one
We're
of these.
we're probably broadcasting on so many multiple dimensional channels that
I think we are.
yeah.
In all seriousness. Hang on. Thank you for giving me an extra hour.
My pleasure.
I have slept in the last 84 hours. 84. Like 7 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. I don't know what's going on.
It's been quite the week.
Let's see, we got 12.
Oh, should I
22.
share
There's
around?
about 40 people in the house. I can see, I can't see anything. Okay, so they're starting to come in. It's been a minute, 45 seconds. Okay, so you want me to tag you?
Sure.
Okay, I'll just tag you. It'll be easier. Hang on one second, everybody. We're having technical difficulties as usual.
Or upgrades.
That's what they are, upgrades. Okay, let's see. Julie. There you are. Okay, tagged. Boom. Okay. Let me turn the volume down because I can't see any comments.
All right.
Okay, so we got 15 people in the house on this one and another 30. All right, so all I can see is the Facebook comments. We're having problems this morning. It's due to our what? What did you say?
Well, the Mercury and the Sun conjunct. Todd asked me, he's like, "What are you going to talk about today?" And I was like, "Oh, the mental body and like how the whole brain neural network is kind of being wiped out completely and rebooted." So it makes sense. But the Sun and Mercury do conjunct tomorrow.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Which one is it? Which one's always the MFER? Is it Mercury or Mars?
I don't. Some
or
people,
is it any planet in retro?
I don't play the like retro wipes me out game so much, especially with Mercury, because Mercury, I just find Mercury is supposedly the planet that rules the mind and communication and the mental body and your ability to communicate and think. So some people do believe that when it's in retrograde, you have less ability to think, and that, people subscribe it to all kinds of things. But I don't personally find that to be super true. But yes, that is the one that people are oft to complain about. But the
Mercury. Retrograde, which is electronic.
But it's not retrograding right now. I don't even know because I don't pay attention to that so much. But it's tomorrow. The Sun and Mercury come together in the sky.
Oh,
so conjunction is like when they're aligned.
Yeah, I've learned what conjunction is through you.
They're right next to the Beehive cluster. So we talked about the Beehive cluster is in the constellation of Cancer, and it's supposed to be the pineal gland of the constellation Cancer. So it's like the whole skull, brain, mental body. And I'm super glad to be on with you. But if this happened yesterday or the day before, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to talk, Todd. I don't even know if I have the power of human speech but luckily today, my higher self
I know exactly where you're coming from.
It's been a wipeout week. And if anyone's listening to this and has had like a week from just feeling like you had to be flatlined, but there's not a lot of sleep in it. It's a lot of like, I have to be horizontal. But
yeah, I mean, it's been like that for the last few weeks, but through yesterday, those 3 days, it was just nothing but me. I didn't even message people. I didn't even nothing. I mean, I messaged Morgan a little back and forth, but we didn't even talk till last night.
I can relate to that. I've haven't the power of speech and communication. It's like it's been on a, so when I say wipeout, maybe it's a reset and a reboot. And the technology stuff for Soulogy is just reflecting that too. But I had to write stuff down because I was like, how am I gonna couldn't even, like, I knew that there were these alignments coming up. It's yesterday, today, tomorrow, and there's more next week, astronomical alignments. And I'm someone that pays attention to them, but I couldn't even brain enough to know what they were, remember what they were, or like, it just was all elsewhere. Because normally I can, even in the intense times, like do some sort of write-up, or I was just like, nah, that's off the table. It's off the ability to do.
Yeah, right.
But luckily, a few hours before the show, I was like, all right, I'll scratch out some notes.
Man, I'm just like, I'm dying.
So yesterday, can I just spew a little astronomical?
Go for it. This is
that's why you have me here, right?
That's right.
So yesterday was Thursday, July 29th. It's 2021, right? Something like that. So yesterday, Mars was with the star Regulus. So they had a conjunction. So Regulus is the brightest star in the Leo constellation. So we know Mars generally gets a fiery rap, and the lion roar. So Mars with Regulus has a fiery expulsion, volcanic kind of quality. That was yesterday. And it's not just a one-day event, right? It's like the whole week. So I noticed for us, a lot of these astronomical alignments, like they build and build and build, and the day where it's actually, where the alignment clicks in is like the crescendo, but it's never a one-day thing. It's like it builds up over days, weeks. And so
can you do that again?
The what? The roar?
Yeah. That's funny.
I felt. And so the beehive cluster that I mentioned is often, Edgar Casey would talk about the beehive cluster as the pineal gland, and it has that like quality of like sight, insight. So the sun aligning with that. So basically Sun, Mercury, and the beehive cluster are all clustered together, all together in the sky. So yesterday, today, tomorrow. So it's basically they move through, like the sun goes as close to the beehive cluster as it gets today, which is one of the reasons we scheduled the show for today. And then tomorrow, the sun and Mercury conjunct. So it's just like a cluster, pun intended, of mental body recoding, rewriting, wiping. Like for me, it's shown up as like the ability to talk and function and communicate has just been sidelined. And you said that too. You haven't really been able to talk to people or had the desire to talk to people, right?
Except the shows, and that was a bit of a struggle, but once it gets started, it's okay.
Right.
But yeah. Well, and I saw it. I mean, what little I saw online, Morgan put up a post, and I mean, there was 200 people basically saying the same thing,
I wanted to point out when I was taking notes today or looking at the alignments, so that Mercury and the sun, because Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, it kind of hangs out in the sky. It doesn't stray far from the sun in the sky. Like it goes a little bit. That's why it's so often in retrograde, because like the sun's here, it kind of like goes back.
So when they say a planet's in retrograde, they're saying that it's near the sun?
No.
Or moving away from the sun, or?
No, so everything's from our vantage point here on Earth. Okay. So normally the sun and the planets move in counterclockwise direction. Yeah. Retrograde just means like it looks like it's moving backwards in relation to
because it's gone over
and it's
there.
not doing anything different. It's just from an Earth point of view. Man, so it's actually not moving any differently.
I'm tired of this retrograde bullshit.
Yeah, just let it go, because it doesn't really.
I don't even pay attention, to be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
it's not.
I just see the tech issues as signs of our frequency. I believe that. I believe it.
So the last time, Mercury conjuncts the sun a bunch of times a year, where the other planets, like for Jupiter, the planets that are far away, it's a more rare event, but Mercury is around the sun, so it conjuncts often. I think it's doing it 5 times this year. But the last time it did it was June 10th. And if you recall, that was the day that we had the eclipse. So I was noticing like some of this stuff, like this week has been a super purging, releasing old goo, old material stuff this week. And it just clicked in for me like an hour before the show. I was like, oh, last time Mercury was with the sun, it was on the eclipse. So I'm sensing that this, like there's been, luckily not me, but projectile vomiting in my house, like other end stuff. Like we've had a lot of purging this week, a lot of us. And I was like, oh, it's the eclipse energy. It's almost like the Mercury Sun alignment that's Saturday tomorrow is like tapping the eclipse energy back.
So
does that make sense?
Yeah, because I got back 2 days before the eclipse from the Soulogy Fest from Sedona,
Right.
and those 3 days I spent flat on my back, not because of the driving. It was like major, like it's been, like it's been here in the last few days, another major wave of waves, and then integration, and of course purging, which is why I was late. It's just been, I have been juicing, but man, the purging's just like
the downward flow of elimination has been very active this week. So we say that. Poop fest. Yeah. So that's
okay.
So that's I feel like we're the bookending, like we're kind of closing the window of that eclipse energy, if that makes sense.
So you said that the last week has been about purging. Are you getting that from the stars, from your direct mainstream mainline? Is it a little bit of everything?
Not even from the stars, from my direct experience of like.
That's what I know because
mom style, like scraping vomit off the bathroom floor style. That's how I've been experiencing it, and but also hearing from other people too, because a lot of us message each other, but like more human, much on the human.
Well, okay, so because where I was going with it was like, okay, what exactly what does that entail? What does that mean when the beehive cluster, Mercury and the sun are conjuncting?
That's a good question, because I don't. I've never paid attention to it or experienced it before. The sun and the beehive cluster do conjunct this time every year. So the sun moves, through its ecliptic path, and it moves through the different zodiac constellations. And so the sun every year touches the beehive, but it's not with Mercury every year. So I've never paid attention to it with Mercury before. Okay. But the other, but so I'm not saying this is all from that, but it feels to me like if I were to read it, it's like a whole mental body rewrite, wipe out and recode it.
Mental body rewrite. Because there's been more talk about the bodies that make up the human, the physical, the mental, the emotional, etherical.
So that's like an old style of thought comes from the Vedas, and so I'm trained I have a strong yoga and tantric background. That was
that's Veda too, though, right? Isn't it?
The Vedas, yeah. So they're almost like the sheaths of the body. They're called the koshas, or the sheaths. So you have your food sheath, which is your physical body. You have your emotional sheath, your mental sheath. So sheath just means like layer.
So so, are you saying that whatever dance they're doing, the effects of it are mental? As in what we normally talk about is mental, or can you explain what is the mental sheath?
It's the land of, or it's the vibration of thought, intellect, communication, and it's like how you get things from here down to here, out there. But that's like the thought, like the thought
network.
The thought realm, yeah, the pineal, you say like sixth chakra.
Well, intellect, I think, says a lot.
Intellect, yeah, the
intellect says a lot for that.
Manomaya kosha for my Sanskrit.
Manomaya kosha.
But it's the mental, like that's one of the sheath bodies. Is
I speak whatever that is now.
So on top of all that, so that's like one thing that we're dealing with. A separate thing is the Mars and Regulus alignment. So that's like happening down the way in the sky. That I spoke about already. But then we also have this huge Sirius situation.
Now that's been around. What was it? Because this what is it, a 3 or 4 day period.
It's a long, so want me to set up? So
Huh?
there are three, so the word helios, we all know that word. The word helios is the sun,
Okay.
right? So the heliacal is the word, or it's so we see stars in the night sky, obviously. So there are stars up there in the daytime sky, but we don't see them because the sun glare is so bright. So when the sun sets, there's a bunch of stars that are visible in the early evening. You know, at right before sunrise, there's a bunch of stars that are available in the darkness of twilight before sunrise. And there's some like fancy names for some of these things. So the cosmical rising is when a planetary body, either a star or a planet or something, nebula, rises at the same time on the horizon as the sun. So it's just two things that rise at the same time. So that's called the cosmical rising. Heliacal rising is when it's dark out, pre-dawn. You can see the star on the eastern horizon if you had an open view, but you see the star like just before sunrise. So that heliacal rising of stars and planets has been used since ancient times as a way to keep time by the stars, seasonal time. So the heliacal rising of Sirius is a thing that's celebrated in August around this time. So it depends what latitude you are, you know, at the equator versus at the North Pole, and then all along the way, we're at different angles. So like everyone at the 44th parallel or the 33rd parallel will see the rising and setting times at the same time because of the way the Earth is tilted. So it doesn't matter east or west hemisphere, but north, south, obviously is different. But so there are, and there's settings of those things too. So Sirius is not on the ecliptic. It's not right where the sun goes. It's like further down in the sky, but it's period of invisibility. So there's a period of time where we don't see stars or constellations. Like if you've noticed, you know, like we always talk about Orion. We haven't been able to see Orion since like last spring. It's not up in the nighttime sky because it's with the sun. It's
Do you go out in your backyard every night looking at the stars? I'm just curious.
Not every night.
Yeah.
But I go out a lot.
Yeah.
We're in this weather pattern right now where we just have clouds and rain, and we're in the part of the US that's like water drenched and beautiful. I haven't seen like, honestly, like a week or two ago, I saw like I was in my house and I was like, oh my God, there's a few stars. Like it almost brought a tear to my eye. Like I missed them like long lost friends. And I ran out. I was like, I gotta go. But if I had, you know, I go out a lot, but not every night.
So I know that over the last 3 or 4 years that Sirius has this period, and I believe this past month, or what month is this? Whatever. It was the 17th through the 21st or something, right?
Heliacal. So I wrote it down because I knew I was like, I got to remember.
Yeah, I was going to.
So the heliacal setting is the last time it's visible in the night sky. So the last time you can see the star. And then there's a period of invisibility where it's kind of gobbled up by the sun.
Okay.
Right. So when Sirius is with the sun, you've heard that called the dog days of summer. Right. Or for us in the northern.
Now, is that the 4-day period that just came?
So it's a longer period of time.
Okay.
The dog days are, so let me finish so the heliacal setting happened like mid-May, May 13th, 11th, somewhere in there.
May 13th. Okay.
So that's like, and then the cosmic rising, which means when the sun and Sirius rise on the eastern horizon together, that's August 4th. So what's that, like Monday? And that's like the middle.
No, that's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's not like a one-day thing. It's like, and it's very subjective, depending on where, or not subjective, but it depends on where you are from the equator to the North Pole, what your latitude is. So the cosmic rising is, say, early August. And then the heliacal rising of Sirius, from where I am, around the 42 parallel, it's August 18th to 20th, somewhere in there. So the period of invisibility, when a star is with the sun, I feel like the sun, like it's like almost like we're getting two suns. So some people talk about like the sun and the spiritual sun of Sirius. Like we're getting the double star. And because Sirius is the brightest star that we have in our night sky, it has like the dog days of summer are like the scorcher. And Sirius itself, that word means scorcher or sizzling. It's like these days are like, and for myself, I find that, and now that I've followed this for like 5 or 6 years as a grid keeper, I have trouble. I don't go out so much on the days. Like the Sirius codes are really intense for some of us.
Really?
And it almost feels like you have to like, I feel like a vampire a little bit, like sort of hiding from the sun. Whereas some people are like really into it. Like they get juiced up by it. But some of us are more, it's a little too intense.
I wonder if that's why I haven't left the house in 3 weeks.
I really can't, like I for myself, and I'm like more of a water-based creature. So the other thing about Sirius is that it's a double star. It's a Sirius A and B. So the Sirius A has a lot more of like the fire codes, if you will. But the dwarf star, that Sirius B that orbits with it, it's a binary star, double star. Sirius B is more of the aquatic element. So anyway, you talked about, so the dog days are a period 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after that cosmic rising. So Sirius, so it's August 5th-ish, 4th, 5th.
So we're in it now.
We're in the Sirius. We're in the like, so I just,
Sirius, yeah.
Yeah. And I find for myself, I realized this kind of this morning even, because I was lucky that my family went on a beach. We went to the beach vacation last week, but it's like I can handle the Sirius energies if I'm underwater. And it's almost like, so Sirius A has a lot more of like the feline quality to it. Sirius B is more like the water world, like the energetics of that are more like whale, dolphin, porpoise. So like some of the codes, like I can handle them.
This stuff is amazing. How do you know this stuff?
Oh, I read stuff. I look around at stuff.
But like you said, Sirius A, it has the feline theme.
Yeah.
Where do you get that from?
Well, I pulled it up in case.
Well, and another reason I'm asking that too is because I don't even know. Whenever one of the times I laid down in the last 12 or 14 hours, I was connecting and I like program, like I'm going to go into a dream state. So I pick like 3 things I'd like to know more about. And it was weird because I stated 1 and I stated 2 and I couldn't think of a third one. And I was like, I never really asked this. What star lineage would you direct me to first, or something like whatever? And immediately I heard Lyra and I thought, what is that? What does that mean? And now you're saying there's a link between feline and Sirius, because Lyra, from what I can gather through the through the stuff I've researched and read over the years or whatever, but that there are some narratives that say the Lyrans were the original humanoids of the galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that you were connected with, so the Lyrans and the lions, I think, are like of different, but they're all kind of related.
Different? Are they different?
Well, of these, when I talk about the feline stuff from Sirius, is a little different. So Lyra is another constellation, and that major star is Vega in the Lyra constellation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So like the Vega, that's, and I don't, for me, honestly, personally, like I read all the stuff too, and like, oh, star seeds from here have these traits, and it's been a lot.
I don't go that deep.
People have subscribed a lot of stories to them,
but
I just like connect to the energy of them because I can't like verify that that's all. You know what I mean? It's all been like humanized and parabolized, and so I just personally just connect to the star energy itself instead of the story. There's like so many layers of story that have been put on it by humans.
Yeah.
It's hard to know how much of that is real or how much of that is somebody else's reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. But I don't know. There just seems to be like some type of connection between Earth and feline.
For sure.
Yeah. But you know what? You're right. You're right. There is, because I've heard people like channels and dimensional experiences or whatever. And there are two different. There's the Lyrans, and then specifically people talk about the lion people or the lion kingdom, right?
So last time you had me on, and one of the reasons you messaged me to say like, hey, let's do this again soon so we can follow up. So I had this, I work a lot with, I use Andaras as really like portals or star gateways, and star knowledge comes through them to me. It's hard to describe how that happens.
No, talk.
It happens. It's like download. So I have
Tell
this
us, yeah, but
set
tell us.
on my back porch that
Yeah.
keeps, I just saw it in the sunset one day. It was in the mid-June, June 20s or something. And it just had this like white light, blue white light. And just, you know how downloads happen. You just get these like, these things just pop into your field as like truth and knowledge, right? So through this Andara came this like Sirius B water world. And I was like, okay, you know, you hear these things, you don't necessarily know what it means or what's going on. And so you unpack it a little bit over time. So you asked me like, how do I know about the dolphin thing? So it's like, okay, the Sirius B is getting my attention. And this thing that goes through my dreams, meditations, mind, heart field is this like water world. As I always connected with, you know, one of my aspects as being like from water world, whatever that means. And so it's probably an aqueous water-based planet orbiting some star somewhere, kind of like we're on here at Earth, but like in another star system. Mm-hmm. So I've been connecting really strongly since April, since the 4/4 time. The whales have been just like prevalent for me, the whale energy, whale communication, whale song, whale everything. I've been in the, you know, I'm stationed over here on the Atlantic coast and get to interact with whales a bit. And how those two went together, it never was really super clear to my human. But after I had this like Sirius B, pay attention to me, I started researching a little bit and I found this and I pulled it up so I could read it if people want. So James Tiburon, however you say his name, we talked about him last time. Remember, he's a channel for Metatron. He's in your land. He's used to live in Arkansas. He's since passed. But he has a bunch of sharings, and I'll put some of the links in underneath this in Soulogy or on your wall. But he has a bunch of channings about the golden dolphins and the reemergence of the golden cetaceans. So cetacean is a word that's the mammals, the whales, dolphins, porpoises, the beings that live in the water, but reproduce young like mammals and breathe air. That's the section of them, right? So I'm going to read from his, if you, is this cool?
Yes, of course.
The dolphins and whales are incredible master beings that bring tremendous crystalline light to the planet. These cetaceans are highly evolved beings from Sirius B who are on the earth to assist mankind, can I say humankind, in exquisite ways and resonance well beyond your current knowledge and imagination. These beautiful beings perform myriad roles, amongst the most important of which is anchoring the light of the ocean waters that cover 2/3 of your planet. So I'm reading from, this is a channel from Metatron, James Tiburon, and it's on his website. These cetaceans are highly evolved beings. I read that part already. They interact directly with both the living essence of planet Earth and the overlight mass consciousness of humanity. The consciousness of the sacred cetacean has an ancient and timeless lineage. They are here and reemerging in the past 5 decades to carry an essential Phi crystalline frequency that is specifically designed to upshift, energize, transform harmonics in order to allow the requisite dimensional expansion of the polarity Earth into the crystalline field of 0 point omni Earth. These cetaceans were here on the Earth before humanity, before duality. So it can be taken quite literally when we tell you that the golden dolphins are both returning, yet paradoxically have also been waiting for you. Their essence is above time, above space. Whether humanity recognizes this en masse or not, the golden dolphin is within you. And on a subconscious level, they call to mankind, humankind, to awaken the inner divinity of the true self. They speak to humanity of joy and the innate freedom in spirit of unconditional love. The golden dolphins are returning. The golden dolphin is you, and their time is now. And it goes on, but I'm not going to spend all of
Far out.
But that's so this Sirius alignment has a lot of like the whale coding in it, and the whales as record keepers, and they echolocate the song, they ride the song lines. Anyway, how that relates to all the rest of it. But I was at do you hear the story about the lobsterman who was swallowed by a whale in June?
Yeah.
You hear that story?
I heard, well, I grabbed the headline. I don't think I actually read the whole story, but I remember seeing another one where they were trying to debunk him, basically.
Well, so he's a lobsterman. So he lives in Massachusetts, and it's the beach where he was lobstering. So he's a lot of people put lobster traps down at the bottom, but he's a lobster diver, and he goes to the bottom and like grabs the lobsters off there's like this shelf. So Cape Cod, Massachusetts is the arm of the end of Massachusetts that spirals up, and Provincetown is the tip of that arm. And so he was lobstering off one of these beaches that I go to regularly and swim off of. And so I got to go there last week and hang out. And it was like the whale. And then my family and I went on a whale watch, and we saw a mama humpback and the baby. It's just like,
how cool is that? The
whale consciousness and it was super cool. And the colors and the whole thing. So like anyone that is listening to this broadcast and wants to, you're probably already connecting to whales. I know a lot of friends who have said the whales have been up, up, up. It's like they're here for us now. Like we are, like the communication is very telepathic, energetic.
I want to connect with the whales.
You can do it from anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm just lucky enough to live an hour from the ocean, but like to go to that beach where the guy was like, so he was basically, the whale was he happened to be there lobstering, and the whale just happened to be there eating. They weren't like, they were just in each other's areas, but not on purpose. Right. And they said it was a juvenile humpback who was sort of learning to whatever, maybe a more experienced whale would not have swallowed. They didn't swallow. He basically they just have their mouths wide open. So they can't really see what they're doing. They're just like, and then the lobsterman was there. So he put him in, like he was in the whale's mouth. And he tells this great story of everything just got dark. And he's like, oh, so this is also, there's a lot of great white sharks here in these waters. And he's like, did I just get eaten by a shark? What just happened? He's like, oh no, I'm not like bloody. He's like, I think I'm in a whale. And so then he like realized when he started thrashing that the whale was like getting uncomfortable. So anyway, he just thrashed a little more, and the whale didn't want him. The whale can't swallow him. That's not big enough. So he just like spit him back out. And his partner that he was lobstering with, like picked him up and, basically brought him to the hospital. He was fine. He had a little. But anyway, it was cool to go hang out on that beach and code it in. I was like, all right, whale human interaction, connection, communication.
And how do you, I'm going to change the subject just a little bit.
Yeah, please.
I mean, you're on this all day long, every day, like a lot of people. I mean, but you're like, I mean, really in. So how do you do that and wipe puke off of the floor?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're actually seeing what occurs as while you're being a mom, as part of the information being presented to you.
Yeah, it's like a lot of moms are master multitaskers. Dads too, probably, but I think can I say moms are a little better at it. And so this vacation week, my family's there. It's a place that we all love to go to, and there's like bike trails and mini golf and all the going to the beaches. But so I did it this last week. Like I get up. I've learned that if I get up before dawn and I go to if I go to the beach at sunrise, and that's like my 2 hours to code, to grid work, to do the things, I just hit the beach by myself, sunrise, sunset. So we were there for 7 nights, and there was some rain. So I caught 5 of the sunrises and 6 of the sunsets. And so I just like bust a move. I'm like, okay, I'm going, like make sure everyone's got food. And then I'm just like out the door and go do stuff. But I do some stuff with my kids too. It's not, it is full
I know
as a
this.
sports
I know
analogy. It's full
you.
court
Well, I know.
press.
I mean,
It's like constant. There's not a
yeah, I
lot of
know. Like I
downtime.
remember the stories of you and your kids driving around looking for cemeteries to do grid work.
Well, that was back when they were just my passengers and they weren't as vocal. And, I got a 12-year-old boy. He's like, he doesn't want any part of this stuff right now, but it's cool. He's doing all the appropriate.
What does he think of his mom?
I
mean, okay, like with the Andaras. Do they see you working with the Andaras?
Oh, sure. So he used to, like, when he was 8, he was like building crystal grids with me and doing all the stuff. But now it's like, he's like, oh, now, he's at that age where it's like totally stupid and uncool. And like, he's like,
parents
crystals.
Are stupid and uncool.
Yeah, it's all good. And my daughter's still 6. So she'll still like crystal grid it up with me and do stuff because it's still like exciting for her. But I'm parenting on 2 different ends of the spectrum. Like 6-year-old boy, 6-year-old girl parenting is all like rainbows and princesses and, like My Little Ponies and like, like unicorns. And then the 12-year-old boy is the opposite end of that.
Yeah, he's just starting to blossom.
But it's there's a lot of us. I mean, there's so many of us that are,
I know,
like, living in the like quote unquote people, real world.
I'll be doing a show with some woman, and she's she's in it, and then she'll just mention, oh yeah, I got 3 kids at the house, and I'm thinking, how do you do that?
So my son and I we do work together galactically, and we used to talk about it a lot more, but also like that window of, he'd wake up from his dream state and be like, Mom, I was on Mars. I was doing this. I was doing, he's like kind of like one of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of kids. Like he's doing the work, but now, I don't push it.
So he was talking to you about the work,
creating universes, like being off, like he was sort of on the, like, he would talk about, he was like,
do you think he remembers it?
Yes, okay. He absolutely does. Cause I say a few things to him, but it's, maybe when he's like 22, we'll talk about it again, do
you think that his ability to recall had anything to do with, if it occurred, with, I don't know, with the information that he was, discussed with you or that you offered to him? I mean, did you cultivate that reality, or did it just kind of happen? Said, hey, Mom, I saw you in my dream last night, or I was on a planet building stuff.
Yeah. So he and I started communicating several years before he was conceived, and like his birth was a initiation of big time for me.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
And we had a lot of telepathic, when he was a baby, before he was, pre-verbal, we had a lot of telepathic communication. So it's happened all along. And then there was a period of time where my skills were coming online and I was more aware of things, and I was doing a lot of trainings and working with different mentors. And I did talk to him about it in that little go window. I'd say it was between like when he was 8 and 10, maybe 11, where he was enthusiastically willing to talk about it with me. And I just, you're a parent. It's like, then there's windows where like the information, it's all age appropriate, right? The teen, the preteen thing. It's like, not only does he not want to talk about grid work or galactic work, it's just, he's on his own, he's doing his own thing, and he doesn't really want to talk to me about, not that he doesn't talk to me about anything. We have a great relationship. Like they just like parents aren't, he's onto the friend thing and he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm, I know how it goes, so I don't push it, and I'm not asking him, like occasionally, but there's things like, he was the one projectile vomiting this week. And I noticed for sure that he is like, people talk about the children of the sun. Like he is so encoded to the sun things. And this year, like whenever there's a solar flare, like those are the weeks where he gets headache. It shows up for him in his human form, like it does for a lot of us, right?
Do you ever talk to him about?
Yeah, no. So I'm like, this is an energy thing, and I show him like the space weather and the KP index and the Schumann, and like, but I just sort of drop it in and go, because like he doesn't want to like talk about it at great length, but I also want him to know. Like any of us should realize, like these cosmic events are happening and all these downloads are happening and they're affecting our human form. It doesn't mean we're sick or there's anything wrong with us, or it's just like, these are the upgrades. So I do train him or, say all that to him. I was like, just so you notice, yep, you get that headache, here's some magnesium, here's this, here's that. Like a lot of us are feeling this because of, whatever, this solar flare, or that time we had the X flare, like he was flat. Like, so I notice, I think he does, like any of us will, we fall asleep to do the work, to do the deeper work. And he has switched his like sleep cycle. So he's like awake most of the night and asleep a lot of the day.
Oh, him and I would be getting along just fine right now.
Which is fine with me, except when you're like, have to like perform for like school or sports or.
Oh, I know. I don't want to be up all night. I don't
yeah, no, I don't think he does
I'm not
either.
sleeping at all. So it's not. So this thing with the sun, you mentioned, and I think Franco says the same thing. I mean, like everything comes through the sun.
Yes.
And so has the sun always kind of dictated what's happening here on the earth, or does it do that?
Well, absolutely. Like where does life force come from? Like our ability to be alive as humanoids here on earth is 100% because of the sun, warmth, heat, codes, life force.
Yeah.
And then the other stars, so like there's so many stars in the galaxy. The core of the galaxy is the main point of source for our galaxy. And then I feel like every sun or every star is like a rebroadcast station of the code of life.
a transmitter.
Yeah, like a it's like pass it on. So Sirius is one of the closest stars. Why this alignment right now is so intense? That Sirius it's the closest to us star. It's not like as huge as Antares or as huge as Betelgeuse. It's a relatively like smaller star in the grand scale of the universe, but because of its proximity to us, it like broadcasts really loud to us. It's the brightest thing we can see. But the sun and Sirius both sending their codes in this end of July, early August time is an intense thing. But has the sun always been?
I mean, like, does this, like, for instance, when Sirius and the sun rise every year, does it do the same thing every time? Or does it depend on what other stars are around them?
I think both. Similar. Okay. But part of what ascension is that we're moving through different parts of space. So if we as a solar system are moving through a part of the universe, the part of the galaxy that is more heavily photonic light encoded, the sun is going to rebroadcast that. So part of what ascension is we're in this part of the galactic stream that has just more heavily coded with light codes and star codes. So the sun is rebroadcasting those. So the light that's coming from the sun is different than it was 10 years ago, is different than it was 20 years ago, is different than it was 200 years ago.
It sounds like when you listen to these explanations, which I know you're familiar with because of the yoga and the Vedas, the what do they call them? The yugas, 26,000 years.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're at the best part, based on some of the stuff I've seen.
It kind of
because there's a descent.
Yes.
Part of the cycle, and then there's an ascent part of the cycle.
Right. So we are. It's very interesting because it kind of depends who you ask. And one of the ways, there's things that get veiled from humanity, either some would say on purpose, some would say just by repetition and oral tradition. But when I was deep in the yoga training, they would talk about that we are like in the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the dark times. And it lasts like hundreds of thousands of years. And we're like smack dab in the middle of it. And this is the darkest time. But I've luckily since then read a lot of things that they talk about that that's not true. And I could put some sources in about this, that we're actually in the upward swing. And there was one way that, it's a lot, how we get the information is people would come in, invading people like British Empire would come in and translate these things into English. And sometimes they made mistakes, especially in the oral tradition, there was mistakes made. And so there's a multiplier that was put in that made it like hundreds of thousands of years, but it's actually not that long. So there is like a more hopeful story that we are on the upswing, and we've just moved through the was it Dwaipala, the whatever the energy one. We're on the like into the Satya Yuga, into the more peaceful, but we're moving towards the golden age and golden era.
We're not in it. I thought we were in it. Let's
Well,
just say
it does depend who you ask. And sure,
no.
I
I'm
feel like
kidding.
we're at the part where, and then they talk about the most intense times are in the transition times. So I feel like we're in one of the liminal transition times. We're alchemizing between one of the metallic, to like, we're on the upswing, but we sure do see evidence of the dark matter, shall we say?
You think?
All over, in globally.
Well,
It's like it's like getting like cleared out and cleaned out.
Yeah, it feels like it. Then again, more of these waves of waves, and I don't think we're going to give a shit
Right?
about any of that crazy distortion because it's. I mean, have you had? You said this week was a lot like June 10th, similar. Or did you personally have a lot of stuff come up or anything? Purging and all that? Well,
I've
like
been
the
trying to
last 2
sort
days, you
out
said you were horizontal. Were you just tired?
so it was last Saturday, not even a week ago, that I went on a whale watch, and I got close to the whales, and since then I do feel like I've been underwater. I can't quite tell for myself, and it's a combination of all of these. If it's like the serious codes that are kicking my ass, I do feel like I've been traveling underwater. Oh, there's another piece of this. If we want to talk about some of the plasma here in New England, we've had a plasmarific summer. So since that June time, it's been, and I say this with respect, I know there's a lot of brothers and sisters that were in the like dry, hot, fiery part of the country. But here it's been like deluge of water. We've just been like rain, like thunderstorm. Like if we don't have massive thunderstorms in the afternoon, that's an odd day. It's just been like plasma city. And I feel like at one of the days I was like, it just feels like we've been underwater. And like when you can see, so there's solid water is the ice, right? And then it melts and you get liquid water. And then the third state of matter is the vapor. And then the fourth state, if you keep adding heat to vapor, water vapor, it ionizes and then you get plasma. So plasma is really just electrified water vapor. And that's, the atmosphere is just like thick, chewy, dense. I felt like I've been underwater since mid-June, and all of us have here. Like paper that you keep in the house is just like waterlogged. Like we're just like really waterlogged in these parts. But it's been like, I was like, oh, this is like plasma. And I guess it's okay to say this out loud. Like a lot of the respiratory stuff that the planet's been dealing with for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always seen this and I felt this. It's like upgrading in a high vibe, high dimensional way. This respiratory thing that we're all dealing with is an upgrade to allow us to breathe plasma in. It's like a light body upgrade.
I hadn't heard that part, but I had heard, and without explanation, that from a few different people, posts and stuff, that it was some type of upgrade to the light body, basically.
To the light body, and I've been feeling it in my back body in particular. And like there's a thing I'm working out this week too of like with the whales and like how they breathe, like the blowhole back body. I'll be coming out with it soon to like share with people in like a guided meditation-y breathing
like
exercise way.
Jan Lemire. Hey, did you ever see the shows I did with Jan Lemire?
Oh.
The dolphin guy.
Oh.
Yeah, so the story is he's European, and he starts getting called by the dolphins. So he ends up going, I think it was Kauai. It's either Kauai or the Big Island. And he starts swimming into the bay, and he gets so far, I guess he just gets guided. He gets so far, he doesn't even realize, holy shit, I'm like way out of here. I'm gonna die. And then all of a sudden, he's surrounded by dolphins. And somehow or another, through that collective energy field, he was able to just not only enjoy their company but get back safely. And he's been channeling them and uh, doing, like seminars and retreats and uh, for quite a while.
Cool.
So pretty
But there's like
interesting.
there's a plasma, there's some way that the whales too are assisting us right now with the plasma breathing. And like this, like there's like a whole back body. So I breathe like, if you just, I can describe it briefly, but I'll do a thing where it's more organized. You just like soften the front of your body and let the breath come in. But when you exhale, it's like you breathe out your back body, like as if you have like
I
the two
feel it. Yeah.
blowholes of the whale and just like
Well,
breathe out from the back
that's
of the
what
heart.
reminded me of it because
Yeah.
I think every time he comes on, he takes, but he has this one takes us through a meditation, but he has this one meditation, and what he does is, what the hell's going on with that? So what he does is he takes you through the body of the dolphin, like we would do, like say with the chakras or something. I don't know what is going on with the computer. But one of the parts of it is the blowhole,
Hmm.
and he takes you through the meditation, and I think very similar to what you're talking about, and basically instructs you on how to breathe it in and how to breathe it out, and so it's similar to what you're talking about. That would
So
be cool.
you asked me about like this week. So it's, if I didn't have these little people that like me to feed them and like take them places and play with them, I would have been in bed all week. Like when people talk about like, oh, I just took 5 days in bed and like downloaded all this content, I'm like, oh, it sounds beautiful. But a lot of us are like doing it as we're householding too,
Mm-hmm.
So I would just get in. But I feel like I've had this combination of the serious codes kicking my ass, the like beehive things, wiping my mental process, and then this like super amazing, beautiful download of like whale breathing technology has been coming in. So I've just like take the slices of time where I can to just like rest and integrate and get in my bath, like a bathtub, and get underwater and go swimming. And I just like, the more I can be underwater. And that's what I clicked in yesterday for me. I was like, oh, I can handle all these serious codes if I'm underwater. And I'm like, oh, that's probably my whale aspect, because the serious codes come in so heavy so they can talk to the whales who are like so deep underwater. Does that make sense? Like I need the attenuation. I need the like filter of the underwaterness to like
Yeah.
be able to take it. So
Yeah. There's
hydrate,
something.
everybody. Drink.
Man, I don't know what to say. Um, Plasma.
Plasma. Did you? I know I just
So
got so hot when we just started talking about it. Did you feel it come in? It was like,
I don't know. I don't know. Everything's speaking, right? I mean,
yeah.
um, but you were talking about how when you heat vapor slowly, it becomes plasma, right? Some people talk about the sun as plasma, and it's not even hot, which I don't want to get into, but because that's way over my head. But what I was getting at is, do you feel like that? Because I mean, we have the visibility and physicality in our lives of the other elements, the four elements. So, do you think that plasma will become like those four in our existence as we continue to?
It it already is.
Is it
But
really?
do you think it's going to be more mainstream talked about
Well, no, no.
and
I
like
mean, like
accessible?
if you look at fire, you can see fire. If you look at water, you can see water. And I'm not saying you have to see it. All I'm just saying is that there's a certain physicality to the four elements that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
But with plasma, it's like a no, it's not. So
I can
how is
I
it? Yeah, explain to us
Yeah.
how is it? How has it become part of our lives, and what do you? What is it? What? Yeah, just talk about it if you would. I can't talk.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I have already, like I can see it a little bit.
Really?
Like I can certainly sense and feel it. I mean, it's coming at us all the time. It is the most prevalent state of matter in the universe. Sure, it comes off the sun. The interface of
it's the most prevalent.
It's like plasma, it makes up most of the universe.
Okay.
Yeah, like in the open reaches of space. Not so much on our Earth, but even in the human body, the plasma realm is like part of our bloodstream and part of our, our lymph, and it's like the interstitial fluids.
God, it's all connected, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So then a lot of us like feel when the plasma comes in, a lot of people feel it in like, they get kind of like puffy, their like lymph nodes get full, like the heart, like the blood, it comes into the blood system. It's like a whole.
When are we going to have a wave of waves of wave, whatever, that's like, ecstatic, orgasmic, bliss, like bliss-esque,
I have those all the time. You have those too.
Yeah, I do. I'm kidding. But I mean, you always see people, they're always like, incoming, it's coming.
Well, as soon as people change their mindsets to dance with it and embrace it and find it joyful, that's when they'll have those blissful.
And work with it.
Yeah, because it is like fuel. There is like that upgrade of our human collective mindset of, even like this whole like, whatever, the event and this and the solar flashing and like all these things are going to happen. And like, you can go to like Armageddon timeline with it and end times, right? Or you can go to the like ascension. It's here, it's now. Like the plasma is, a lot of people describe it as like a sheen or like a golden net, or like, you get like an oil slick in a parking lot, but you get that like rainbow kind of iridescent quality. Plasma has that quality to it. But I swear, like I've seen it when I was telling you that we've had those days where it's just been like pure, like the sky, the air is all water vapor. Yeah. And then when the lightning storms come in, oh my God, it's been like amazing. I feel like I've had a plasma university here this summer because it's like the air is so thick with it. You could like when the electricity comes, you can literally, it's like your hair follicles, like you get the goosebumps, and it's like that lightning quality. So like the closest thing that we see and sense here on planet Earth that's direct plasma is lightning. Lightning is one of the main ways, and that's like the whole, the Schumann resonance that people spend a lot of. It's like it's a measure of the plasma discharge in our ionosphere.
Oh, I didn't know that. How cool.
Does that answer your question? Of like, when are we going to be able to see it? Like, now, Todd, we can see it now.
No,
joy and bliss is now.
No, I was just
we're here.
Well, and the other thing you said too that's interesting is that plasma is the space in between. And then if you look at, somebody was on here the other day, God forbid if I could remember. All right, let me remember who it was. But they were talking about atomic structure. Or they were actually talking about something else, and then the connection was made to atomic structure. In other words, plasma is a space between, and then of course most of the atom is empty space. I wonder if that's all plasma. I mean, it's just.
I think that's a little bit, but not quite. Like plasma has it's ionized gas. So I don't think it like sits in the space neutrally. It's very charged.
Okay.
But it's like, how
plasma
you
like is ionized gas.
Ionized gas.
And what does ionized mean?
So how it relates to the atomic structure is, you have the nucleus that has the neutrons and the protons, which has either neutral or positive charge. And the electrons are the things with the negative charge. So ionized gas is the electrons are stripped from their atoms and they run in a stream like electricity.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
So it's not like in the space, but it definitely has an atomic component, but it's the lightning, if you will, when it comes through a cloud and the water vapor in the cloud, it like pulls all those electrons with it. And it like, that's what makes the electrical bolt, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it leaves a lot of the, you've heard the term free radicals, like the gobble up. So, but then the positive ions, it creates polarity of positive and minus for that moment. And that creates a lot of like from potential energy to kinetic energy and a lot of like spark and action.
Yeah, this stuff's amazing. It's amazing. It really is.
So amazing.
So what
We
what
wrap up.
did
Hang
you
tight,
want to
everybody.
do you want to take do you want to take us? God, we've been on an hour and a half.
I know.
What? I just looked and it was 45 minutes. And I thought it must be about another 20 minutes.
I know. When's your next show? You got to get a.
Yeah, I have one in 45 minutes. I'm gonna have a lay down.
Yeah. I have I brought I have a crystal.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want to do something.
Yeah. I was gonna start with this, but ending with
Where
this.
did I see that before? Did you show it to me?
I might have. I have one.
Do you have two?
Denise Chadwick has one too. I have two. I have a big one.
It must have been you. Yeah, it must have been you.
Denise has one too. They're fun. So it's like a crystal. There's crystal bowls are a thing, but these crystal pyramids. So if we're going to talk Sirius B, or any Tom Robbins fans in the house, or we talk about the Dogon tribe in Africa who had direct connection with Sirius B, but they talk about the pyramid structure. Anyway, there's a whole fun thing about that, but we'll just vibe it out through this. Goes on for a long time.
That was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I could see having one of those and just doing that once a day.
It's really helpful. I have one. Here at Innerspace, I have the ceiling tiles that have the slots in them. So I have it suspended. I can stand under the big one, and I have it suspended over my treatment table.
Wow.
And it's like you can stand under it. It's like it's really good. It's
so
like
it takes all the. It makes it so easy. You just attune yourself through. That was amazing. Was that a particular chord, or was that all the chords? Like
well, this one, it depends on the length and diameter. This is an 8-inch one, so it does play at a certain resonance.
Yeah.
But it does have two. The sides of the pyramid are at a slightly different pitch than the.
Yeah, that's what I noticed that when you're hitting.
Yeah, they have two different.
People are wanting to know where you can get one.
So
Google it.
Well, I can put a link. So D8, there's a gentleman in Germany, Dieter Schrade, something like that. I'll put a link to his stuff. So he has some. So they're extruded. There's a lot of cheaper knockoffs on Amazon, if you will. But if you want to get like a high quality one, I can point you in that direction. But I got it from a gentleman I think he's in Germany, somewhere near there.
You must have a massive metaphysical component collection.
I have amassed some things in my several decade journey here.
How many Endars do you have?
I have a lot. I have thousands. But I have
thousands.
Yeah.
You have thousands.
I have maybe hundreds. I don't know. I have they've magnetized to me, but a lot of them here are to share with other people. So I have they're not all like
just quick. So is that an active part of your day to commune with the Endars?
Absolutely. So, a lot of people meditate. Like I find them instrumental tools in connecting in. So in some of the, they talk about candle gazing or yantra, you look at like a mandala, you
Mm-hmm.
can use andaras in that same way as a meditation tool, if you will, or
Mm-hmm.
a contemplation tool, but gritting with them, being with them, hanging out with them.
I can't wait for the day that your son brings home his buddies at 13 or 14 and you're hitting the pyramid and
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, I won't do that to him because I'm too cool of a mom to embarrass him that way. But you go onto on my back porch is a place where I activate a lot of them, and the railing of my back porch is like coated in them. And I'll have like, the regular people, or as Hung calls them, the muggles from Harry Potter, come over, and like, my daughter's has a friend from school, from preschool, and her mom will come over for a play date. Some people do not mention them, see them, comment on them at all. They just don't even look at them or see them, which I find like cool, hilarious, whatever. And then some people come over and they're like, what's going on back here? So
really,
it's
isn't that
like
crazy?
Self-select,
That's crazy though. And you know what? I bet you there's some of those people that literally don't see it.
I had a mom over like a month ago, and I had a bunch of them out because they were activating in a certain grid to go out, to come up here to the store. And I was kind of like, oh, I forgot to like clear them off the back porch and like make room for us to sit. And like, she was surrounded by them. She didn't even like comment on them at a second. And I found that I was like, all right, it's like they self-select. And then the people that are like, oh, what's going on? And then, I'm like, oh, they're just like hunks of glass. They're like, oh, those are beautiful. Great. And I don't have the conversation with everyone about like the cosmic nature of them. But
do you ever have that conversation with PTA moms? Like, does it ever come up?
Yeah.
Did the worlds ever clash for you?
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky. Like one of my mom friends that my kids goes to school with, like runs a big natural living expo here. Like because I've self-selected to like a school that there's other like-minded people. People are like, oh, like one mom was like, oh yeah, Andaras, I know those. I was like, oh, yes. So she's like, oh yeah, I've bought those. So people, it's cool. We're coming more mainstream, Todd, every day. That's part of what world less that are out here in the like, the suburban world, or to like percolate these things through the collective consciousness, right? And the people that are meant to look at them are like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what some can see and then others don't see. I believe that. I'm going to go join the ranks of your son and have some projectile vomit. And
no, don't. Well, great.
No, I'm okay. I'm purging.
No, he felt a lot. Once it's out, you feel a lot better. That's what I was telling him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, no sleeping 3 days, but
But here you are doing a show anyway.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, the linear,
I really thought 2 days ago, I was like, I'm going to have to message Todd and tell him I just can't do it. And I was like, you know what? You can go on. Todd will take you in whatever state you show up in. And you could drool the whole time and Todd still wants you to come on.
So it was actually the reverse. I drooled the whole time and now I got to do an hour and a half with Franco, which ought to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, we'll see you again. You're coming on twice a month and
we have 2 August dates.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's something we want to commit to because we really want to bring this type of stuff out of this stuff that's not conventional by, Dieter Schradel.
Did somebody type it?
Dieter Schrade crystal sound. Yeah. Dieter Schrade.
Somebody typed it in. Thank you, whoever that was.
You're welcome.
I said his name pretty well.
Yeah. Somebody
for
else
like
was.
Not having for my mental wipe.
And Stephanie Burke. Hello, Stephanie Burke.
Thanks, Stephanie. I know this is kind of.
I wanted to say hi to her.
I have to say, I like seeing people's comments, but it's so distracting too. Like this Zoom webinar way, because the restream didn't work, is like much cleaner. Well, whatever.
Well, I would go back to Zoom, but I can't see all the comments, and I can live without that. But I mean, I just have on my phone. I have just Facebook. Yeah. But
how about I'll say this: it was freeing for me today to not see any of the comments.
Maybe
I'll go back and look.
Maybe we'll just go. maybe we'll just go comment less. And, maybe that's well, because see, the problem was we were having problems with Zoom, a lot of problems,
Right.
and maybe they got all their stuff worked out.
Well, take a good rest, Todd, and
I'm
everybody.
I'm gonna do 2 more shows, and then I'm going to make my juice for the day. I'm drinking 48 ounces of pure organic juice every day, and then having like a snack, like a couple of veggie wraps.
Well, no wonder you're moving stuff through.
I don't know what, and of course I drink a lot of coconut water and sparkling water and organic tea, but that's pretty much my diet. And this isn't like, oh, I got to go do this. And I bet you other people it's happening. It's like, I'm just doing it.
It's all you can stand. Like it's all the body can process.
I don't know. It's just, and I'm grateful because just in reflection of the intensity of the energy, just since that period you're talking about, since June 10th, like, because that's when I got back, June 8th. But man, it has been massive purging. I mean, my face has been just like my scalp, my face, everything's peeling. I've seen somebody, I think Morgan shared a post about the peeling or sent me a meme or an article. And then I saw other people talking about just different effects on the body. So this is a real deal.
But it's just reminding people it's all good stuff, right? Because as the light quotient increases, the stuff that's dark or dense, purge. So
tell me about it.
Onwards and upwards, friends. Thank you.
Lots of showers and baths. That's my advice. Rinse off. Get that stuff off you. I love you. Absolutely. Take care. Best to your family.
Thank you.
And everything. You take care. I'll see you later. We'll be back if I can talk in 31 minutes with Franco.